Hello everyone, welcome to the QuesterMage, Mage's Quest to talk about games. In today's video I want to take a look at the Arcade1UP ATARI Legacy Edition. Please note this is not intended to be a review of the machine itself. I try to collect relevant information on the machines, digest user feedback, while adding my own observations and or opinions. Condensing these into an informational video which I hope is helpful and or enjoyable. We have a few videos talking about arcade related content on the channel. If you'd like to watch these, then please take a look. Like in the other videos, we'll talk about the physical cabinet itself, the games, and any improvements or issues it might have. Now Arcade1UP have launched quite a few arcade products, like their 3/4 scale cabinets, countercades, sit-down cabinets, etc. In this video we're going to focus specifically on the Arcade1UP ATARI Legacy Edition. So let's take a look. Being a 3/4 scale arcade, it stands at 57.8 inches tall, 19 inches wide, and 22.75 inches in depth. The design is based on the original Tempest arcade. The Arcade1UP ATARI Legacy Edition comes with the flat packwood with pre-applied graphics, a good quality 17-inch horizontal screen which is encompassed in the cabinet itself and has a slant, more on this later, a control deck with a trackball, spinner, 7 buttons including the player 1 and player 2 buttons, a control deck protector, a custom riser, a light-up marquee, stereo sound, volume controls, and 12 included games. The game list is as follows: Aka R, Tempest, Asteroids, Asteroids Deluxe, Centipede, Crystal Castles, Gravitar, Liberator, Major Havoc, Millipede, Missile Command, and Space Duel. This cabinet does feature a light version of dip switch settings, interestingly none for Aka R. For the other games you can change settings like lives, bonus levels, difficulty, that sort of thing. Let's take a look at some of the improvements made. The look of the cabinet. In my opinion, this is one of Arcade1UP's best looking 3/4 scale cabinets. Arcade1UP and Atari, when they work together, just make great looking arcades. I mean, look at these. You have the Centipede here on the left, the Star Wars in the middle, and the Atari Legacy Edition on the right. They just look really good. Whether you look at them in the current angle, or you look at just a side art as you can see here on screen, or if you look at them straight on. At all angles, these look really good in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. So starting with the shape, a clear nod to the original Tempest arcade, and it looks great even in this 3/4 scale form factor. The side art is particularly nice, looking very clean with the colour scheme being very pleasing to the eye. The monitor being encompassed in the machine also lends well to the overall look of the cabinet. The riser matching the side art. The riser artwork being a continuation of the artwork on the main unit also looks very good. Users have also said that they want more of this in the future. They want Arcade1UP to match the riser's side art with the main unit itself. The slanted screen. Some of the other Arcade1UP Legacy Editions unfortunately had some line of sight issues for some users, but with this cabinet they are saying that this machine doesn't suffer from those issues, probably because the monitor is on a slant. This is a really good improvement and hopefully one that will become a standard going forward. Yes, Arcade1UP, people like slanted screens. Improved controls. With some of the old Arcade1UP cabinets, there were a few issues with the controls when it came to their spinners or their trackballs. Users were very clear and the previous spinner used by Arcade1UP was not very good. In the Atari Legacy Edition, there is both a new spinner and new trackball. Players are actually happy with both of these. The spinner doesn't spin loads, but does spin nonetheless. It also doesn't click as you're spinning it. Apparently not the best, but definitely an upgrade on their previous spinner. The trackball also has seen an improvement in quality, where users are also happy with it, so good going Arcade1UP, good improvements. Moving on to improvements needed. Screw caps. Another great looking cabinet, and once again you can clearly see the screws when looking at the side art. This is not my first time mentioning this issue, but unfortunately the same applies to this machine. A few screw caps will, in my opinion, improve the overall look of these cabinets greatly for a relatively low cost. Not all games having controls on both sides. A few games in this list only have 1 or 2 buttons to control them. As we can see, there are buttons on both sides of the trackball. Games like Centipede, Millipede, Liberator, Major Havoc, and Tempest can only be controlled with the buttons to the left of the trackball. Why is there no option to flip the controls to the other side if players prefer it? I know that this wouldn't be authentic, but one of the benefits of making these machines now, I would think, would be to add quality of life improvements and accessibility options. If the player is left-handed using the trackball or the spinner, why not have the option to control the game with the right buttons? Missile Command, for example, has options for players to use both sides. A little bit later on, we'll go into a little bit more on this control setup. Crystal Castles has jump buttons also on both sides. Seems a little weird to me that not all the games would have this option available. Possible issues and fixes. A themed cabinet, but it doesn't match the screen orientation. Tempest is a game which was originally played on a vertical screen, featured on the original arcade cabinet. The Atari Legacy Edition is the first cabinet by Arcade1UP which the screen orientation does not match the marquee game. There are 3 titles in this game list which are vertical games: Tempest, Centipede and Millipede, the other 9 games being horizontal. Users have said that this might be an issue as the vertical games play fine but seem a little squashed. On a positive note, apparently the bezel around the screen really helps not notice the screen orientation being horizontal. But if you love Tempest and need it to be in its vertical orientation, this might be an issue for you. This does seem like a strange move by Arcade1UP, as they like to match the original arcade cabinets as much as they can within their own limitations. Maybe as the majority of the games are horizontal, they thought this would be a better fit for the cabinet. But I have to say, screen orientation not matching the main marquee game is a little strange. Control configuration. Now, I mentioned earlier we'd talk about this a little bit more, and here we are. Users are not happy with the controls for Missile Command. Here is the current setup by Arcade1UP on this cabinet for this game. Starting with the buttons to the right of the trackball, we have the button for Alpha, Delta, and Omega. No issues here. The problems are apparently to the left of the trackball. We have the controls for Alpha and Omega, and the Delta button is this one, the Player 2 button. Users are saying this is slightly awkward, to put it nicely, and think that the buttons should have been rearranged. So I thought it would be fun to have a little think, and I thought it would be fun to show you 2 options that I have come up with. I think we can call these the should have been and could have been controls. Let's start with the could have been controls. As you can see here, I've moved things around a little bit, but keeping the same number of buttons provided by Arcade1UP on this cabinet. I've moved the Player 1 button higher on the control panel, the Player 2 button has been centered above and between the other buttons. I think this would have been a better solution for comfort, but also keeping the clarity of the main function of this button being the Player 2 button. Now for the should have been option. By adding 1 extra button and by repositioning the Player 1 and Player 2 buttons, I think this would have been the best solution. I understand that maybe having a spinner and a trackball probably increased the cost for this cabinet, but an extra button I do think would have eliminated what potentially could be an issue for the user. So what do you think of the Arcade1UP Atari Legacy Edition? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? How would you change it? Please leave your impression down in the comment section. But that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you very much again for watching. If you want to help the channel grow, please click that like, subscribe, and click that notification bell for more of our content in the future. And until then, thanks again.